Hi, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about your final research proposal paper and video presentation, which is one of your finals in this class, the final project. So this assignment, the research proposal assignment, is a total of 24 points, so almost a quarter of your grade. And this is your opportunity to demonstrate your understanding of educational research and apply it to something that you are interested in. So your choice to really show what you have learned and apply it to a topic, to also connect it to some of your passions and professional interests. So these 24 points come from 4 points for the proposal outline, which you've already done. So you already have those 4 points. Then 16 points for the paper, and then 4 points for the video presentation. So I'm going to be talking about the last two today to give you some tips, show you the rubric, and explain how to complete it and how I'll be grading it. So my major tip is well, 2 tips, but build on your earlier outline, your proposal outline, to develop a more detailed research-informed study proposal. And then my other tip is to use the textbook to help you come up with the methods and explain and connect your design. So this is really meant to build on your proposal outline. So you already have an outline that I've already checked and giving you feedback on as to what will be in your proposal paper. So open that up, go back, read the feedback that I gave you, and that's what you will build on. So you've already talked about your research issue. You will develop that further to make it into a focused introduction. Now, next, you've already identified what your design is going to be. Now you're going to clarify, further justify it, and use the course text to structure your methods. Your literature review, you've already identified your 3 references. So in your literature review, you will be discussing the findings of those articles and writing a little bit about what you learned from reading that related literature. Now, the bulk of your work is going to go in adding in details about your proposed participants, how you will recruit them, data collection, and data analysis. And then you will polish and cite using APA format. So you already have a lot of the work done. In terms of an outline, you just need to fill it in and develop. So as far as the proposal paper, it doesn't need to be long. So it will probably be somewhere between 3 to 5 pages, maybe a little bit over, but do try to keep it to as succinct as possible. It will use APA format, and you will be drawing on those 3 to 5 academic sources that you already identified for the outline. Plus, your course textbook is a great resource for you to use, especially when you are talking about the methods that you are going to use. Here are the headings that you will have in your paper and the different components. So you will see these parts on the rubric and also in the template. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that now. So when you are writing your proposal, in order to have a strong proposal, it's so important to write in first person and, of course, write in your own voice. It's so important for you to write about this from your perspective. So it's a topic that you're passionate about. And so in the introduction, you might include why you chose this topic or your connection to the research. So make sure that you are writing this and it is authentically yours. Another way to make a strong proposal is to use, of course, the research text, or not the research text, but the course text all about research methods. The template and the sample that I have in iCollege, those can all help you with your structure. So when you're using the text, depending on what design you're doing, you might be looking at different chapters, but I will orient all of you to chapter 4 because chapter 4 goes into detail about how to write a research proposal. I know that we read this at the beginning of the semester, but do come back to it now because it goes into detail on what it should look like for a quantitative proposal, qualitative, and mixed methods. Use your recent and relevant sources. You are likely using the databases like ERIC. or maybe even Google Scholar. If you don't remember how to access the Georgia State databases, go back to the video lecture in Perusal 2 for literature reviews, and Chapter 1 in the text goes all over APA style. Another really important point is to make sure that your design, your research design, is aligned with your question. So all of your methods for collecting data, your methods for analyzing data need to be aligned with your research question and your design. So go back to those particular chapters. If you're doing quantitative, make sure that you are referencing those chapters to choose your design elements, and same for qualitative. And then be clear about who your proposed participants are and how you are proposing that you will collect data and how you will analyze them. Now, again, you don't have to collect these data, so you are just proposing who ideally you would like to be participants, how you would recruit them, and the steps that you would do in future tense. So at this point, you don't need to worry about being able to collect the data, but rather build a strong and cohesive proposal. As far as the video presentation, this one is worth 4 points, and it is short. You can think of it like a pitch. So 3 to 5 minutes. And for your video presentation, you can have yourself on video like I do for the lectures. You could have voiceover, and you can use any format that you like, any creativity. I'm sure you'll have so many more ideas than I do, but Canva, PowerPoint, Google Slide, whatever you like to use to make your video presentations. I've had students just record as well. So in those presentations, you'll talk about your research topic and why it matters, which is the significance. You'll go over a brief overview of your methods, your proposed research design, like your questions, participants, data analysis, and then your conclusions, reflections, and your final thoughts or next steps on your topic. So this is your chance to talk and demonstrate that you're able to talk about your work in your voice and be clear and concise. And if you're having trouble with the time, you might have to practice to narrow it down to the 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so let's go to the paper. So the paper is worth a total of 16 points. And so I am going to walk you through the rubric and how I'm going to do it. So let's start with the introduction. The introduction, there are 3 components that I'm going to be looking for, and each of those are worth 2 points, which is 6 questions. So your research issue, which is your introducing the research issue, giving an overview and introduction. Your literature review is going to discuss those 3 to 5 scholarly sources and what you got from them, how they connect to your study. Then research questions, purpose, and significance. So you're going to have appropriate research questions. If it's quantitative, you'll have your variables, and then a discussion of the significance, including a hypothesis if it is quantitative or mixed methods. So I'm taking you to the proposal template. This is the title page here. Now here is the introduction section, so you can see research issue, prior literature, purpose, and then the research questions and significance. You can go ahead and remove any highlighting here. The highlighting, if you remember, was for our proposal outline for me to show you, so you don't need to keep the highlighting. Now you can see in brackets, I've told you for each heading about the length that I'm expecting and what I expect you to have there. I've also included, where applicable, the chapter that you should reference to find that. I was also given a few notes about quantitative or qualitative. So hopefully this template is helpful in telling you what I expect for you to type. So you can delete this part. Once you understand what to do, you can delete this part and type your writing here. So that is the introduction. Let's go on to the method, which is very important. That is the showing that you really understand how to design a study. So in this one, I also am looking at 3 components, again, for 6 points, 2 points each. So the first one is your design, and then either your variables, or which is if you're doing a quantitative study, or the construct if it's qualitative. So your design needs to be appropriate for your research questions, accurate and a thorough description of the design. So making sure that you demonstrate that you understand what that design means, and then define or describe the variables or the construct of interest. Next, we're looking at method, the research setting, and the participants. So describing what the potential setting, what you would like for it to be, describing the location and its features. Maybe if you're looking at a particular school or sports team, what kind of characteristics you would be looking for. Then also your proposed participants, including sample size. How many participants would you want to recruit? And what methods would you use to recruit them? So look back into the chapter on sampling to find out what you could put in your section. And then method in terms of data sources, including your instruments and your data collection procedures. So you need to have appropriate data sources identified that need to, again, go with your design. And you also need to do a clear and appropriate description of your instruments. And so, for instance, if you are saying that you will do a survey, you need to include examples of those survey questions or link to the survey, and same with an interview protocol. So when you look at the template, you will see the method here. So here you can see one paragraph, and then again for the design, the research setting where you propose it to will take place, the participants, including how they will be selected or sampled. And again, you see here, I put the chapters where you can look to find all of this. Instruments and data sources. So you need to describe any instruments that you would use, such as a test, survey, or interview protocol, and then your data collection procedures. So how your data will be collected, when it will happen, so on and so forth. And then the last component is your data analysis and your overall style. So data analysis is two parts. So having appropriate data analysis methods identified and an explanation of how they would be used and why they're appropriate. Also, here is where you will discuss your methods to ensure validity or trustworthiness. So that's really important. I highlighted that because I highlighted the two things that I commonly see. Well, I guess I highlighted three. I highlighted the components that I often see students leave off, just so I can draw that to your attention. So make sure that you discuss validity and trustworthiness. And then also, oh, this should say 2 points, so I'll fix that. But these again are 2 points. And then your references and style will, so I'm giving you points for having accurate style. So when you go to this section here, data analysis, you can see I put in lots of detail about what I'm expecting and looking for. And then again, I highlighted methods for reliability and validity. And then here is your reference page. Okay, so that is the rubric. Now, there's also available, and of course, the rubric's available in iCollege, but most of you already have it from your outline. Now, in iCollege, there is also a sample research proposal. So let me take you there now. So this is a sample that I wrote about one of my research projects. So you can see, get a feel for what it might sound like. So here you can see my introduction, 2 paragraphs, my summary of literature. You can see about how long that is. You can see that I have those internal citations from my reference page, my research questions, and my statement of purpose, and then the research significance. One thing that's not here is I didn't define my constructs, so I would need to explain, and maybe I do here in a different place, but you need to explain what your constructs are, like the Beltline TAD, policy actors, if you're doing a qualitative study. Here is the method. I talk about an introduction to the method. You can see I cited the textbook, the research design, explaining what I am proposing and why it's appropriate, the research setting, participants, including how they'll be sampled, instruments and data sources. Now notice I highlighted, it said that I'm proposing interviews, and it says, see the appendix for the interview protocol. So As you remember on the rubric, it said that you need to include the instruments. This would be my research instrument, my interview protocol that I'm proposing. Data collection procedures, you can see it's sequential first, next, then, and notice it is first person and future tense. Then data analysis, what I propose to do for data analysis and why. And then in here, I also talked about the validity, triangulating the study, and then I also included ethical considerations and conclusions, which is another way to demonstrate validity and trustworthiness. And here is my reference page. I don't know why this one is not formatted correctly, but notice the reference page has the hanging indent under those references. So again, this is available in iCollege for you to look at if you are interested in looking at a sample. Okay. So now you are really ready to work. So as a reminder, to review your proposal outline and any feedback, finish reading your scholarly sources so you can start writing about what you learned from those for your literature review, draft your proposal using the headlines, plan and record your video, and then upload them both to iCollege. And if you have any questions, of course, put them in perusal here or email me to schedule a meeting. And I cannot wait to watch your videos and read your papers.